So good morning, everyone. So in our last class, we studied the various aspects of data science as a profession and few other things like datafication, few applications we studied. So we shall discuss uh, further about the data science profile. So, so Rishal is a data science academician. So when asked about the profile of a data science, so the following domains or skill sets are listed: computer science, mathematics, statistics, machine learning, domain expertise, communication and presentation skills, and data visualization. So these are the skill levels that is expected of a data scientist. So data scientist profile. So this is the data that is obtained. So this is known as Richel's data science profile. So when she was illustrating to visualize uh, herself as a data scientist and also her students, this was the different scale that she came up with while describing the profile of a data scientist. So first one is you can observe in the bar chart. So data visualization, more than that, it was machine learning, then mathematics, the maximum was a statistics, and then computer science, communication, and domain expertise. So these index cards, they are developed, and there was quite a bit variation in what people think about data scientists, and a lot of people come from different social science backgrounds. That may be the reason why people think differently. So as a data science profile at the moment, it works on different profiles or skills. So data science team represents different people because nobody is good at everything. That's why data science, it is always called as a team effort, where different types of skills are required from different horizons of technical knowledge. It is not possible for a single person to have everything. So it is always a collective team efforts that is being built. So teams are built and data team profiles are constructed from the data scientists profiles. So you can look at that particular graph. So this is the data science team profiles. So that is constructed from the profiles of the data scientist. So there should be alignment between the data time science team profile and the profile of the data problems that the team is trying to solve. So if that mapping is done, so this is the expertise of individual persons. So they are put into teams. Okay. So expertise of different people are shown over here. When put into team, so it should cover all the skills that is required. So an experiment was conducted in the class to identify what data science uses and how it can be defined. So when to find out what data science is all about, so they started with a simple text mining model. So in text mining model, simply the teams or the people participating in it, they search the Google for data science. So and perform, the text mining of the result. So this makes usage of the Google search engine to define what data science is, or what does Google search engine finds about the data science. So it would be better to be a prescriptionalist if you refer the dictionary. So unfortunately, in dictionaries we don't have this particular concept. So the text mining model to find out what is data science, so it doesn't give the right results. So what about clustering algorithm? So if we look at the practitioners of data science and see how they describe what they actually do. So they can look at people who claim to be other things like statisticians or physicists or economists. They describe themselves. So based on the descriptions of the data scientists about themselves, so a clustering was done to identify what it is. So that may give a good prediction of what data science field is about. So this is just an experiment that was conducted by Rishal. So just for the comparison purpose, another one person from data science field, Harlan Harris, so did a comparison in the field of data science. So he took out a survey and used the clustering models to define the subfields of data science. So what might be the subfields of data science? So that is available in this particular graph, you can see. So the profile of data scientists, so it includes statistics, programming, mathematics, machine learning, or big data, business on one side. On the other side, it is a data business person, data creative, data developer, and data researcher. So on a 2D modeling, so this is how he represented the data they found out in a survey that was published in 2012. So what actually data scientists do? So in order to answer this, there are two things. One is what data scientists do in industry. So another one is what they do in academia. So academia means colleges or educational institutions. So in academia, so what happens in reality is currently in academia, no one calls themselves as data scientists. So except they use it as a secondary title by calling themselves as a data scientist or data science institute at a university level. And by that they apply for grants and get the money for data science research. So instead in academia, if you want to search it, so a course was being done on data science in Columbia University. So there a course was proposed to make up a student who would mainly be statisticians, applied mathematics, or computer scientists. So again, it ended up being those people plus journalists, political scientists, biomedical information students from other government agencies. So all those things study she did. And to find out what the term data science has its meaning in academia. So the term data science, to catch on in an academia at the level of a faculty and as a primary title, the research area needs to be more formally defined. So there are already a rich set of problems that could translate into many PhD theses. So an academic data scientist is a scientist trained in anything from social science to biology, who works with large amount of data and must grab the computational problems posed by the structure, size, complexity of the nature of the data, while simultaneously solving the real world problems. So, and that is what she got as a definition of a data scientist at the level of academics. So, if you want to articulate it further, across academic disciplines, the computational and deep data problems have a major common things. So if researcher across department they join, they can solve multiple real world problems from different domains. So if we move on to the industry level, so how things move in industry, what do data scientists look like in an industry? So it depends on the level of the designation or the seniority, whether we are talking about the online industry in particular. The role of data scientist need not be exclusive to technical world, but that's where the term originated from. So the chief data scientist should be setting the data strategy for the company that involves various things like setting up the engineering infrastructure for collecting the data and logging. So again, they will face the privacy issues and they decide what data uh, should be used and how the user accepts it, how data is going to be used in making the decisions, how it's going to be built back into a product. So a team of engineers, scientists, and analysts, they will again communicate with the leadership across the company, including the CEOs or CTOs, like that. So more generally, a data scientist is someone who knows how to extract the meaning and interpret the data, which requires both the tools, methods from the statistics and machine learning, as well as from a human. So uh, she spent a lot of time in process of collecting, cleaning, and mugging the data, because data is never clean. So this process requires a lot of persistence, software engineering skills, statistical skills to understand the biases in the data and debugging logging code from the output. So once data is in shape, the crucial part is exploratory data analysis. So which combines both visualization and data sense. So here she found patterns, then build the models and algorithms, understanding the product usage, health of the product. So all those things are part of the data science process in an industry. Again, this is a research that is being done by the Rachel, and it is her experience, so which we are discussing in this particular chapter 1. So we will move on with the second chapter. So in the first chapter, we'll study only the people's perspective and their research about what data science is all about and what is the profile of a data scientist. So in the second chapter, we will study the statistical inference, exploratory data analysis, and data science process. So before we actually begin, we need to know the statistical inference and statistical thinking. So statistical thinking in the age of big data. Okay. So big data is a very vague term used very loosely these days. But to put it very simply, it is a catch-all phrase with three things. So first, it is a bundle of technologies. Secondly, big data, it is having a potential revolution in measurement. And thirdly, it is a point of view or philosophy about how decisions will be made in future. So big data involves three things: technology, revolution in measuring things, and the decision making. So when we are developing the skill set as a data scientist, certain foundational pieces needs to be in place. So those foundation include the statistics, linear algebra, and programming. So even once you have those parts, pieces, so we'll be challenging ourselves to develop a skill in a parallelly and simultaneously on data preparation, modeling, coding, visualization, and communicating. Because these things are interdependent. So statistical inference. So the data or the application that we deal with uh, is complex, random, and uncertain. At the same time, there is a application which will be generating huge amount of data. So as and when we move in a subway or in a car, as our blood also flows through the body, right? As we are shopping, emailing, or relaxing at work by browsing the internet and watching the stock market, we are building things, eating, talking to friends, family about the things, while factories are producing products. So this all, at least they are potentially producing data. Though the sensors that that we own every day, our cell phones, smart watches, oximeter, so all those things will be generating data. So that is the amount of data that is being generated in real time. So imagine spending all 24 hours looking out the window, for every minute counting and recording the number of people who pass by, or gathering up everyone who lives within a mile of your house and making them tell you how many emails they receive every day for the next year. So imagine heading over to hospital and roaming around there and identifying how many blood samples, looking for patterns in the DNA. So all these things sounds creepy, but the point here is that the process in our life are actually data generating process. So everything what we do is generating data. So we like the way to describe, understand, and make sense to these process in a part, because as scientists we just want to understand the world better, but many a times understanding this process is also a part of a solution that we are trying to solve. So data represents the traces of a real world process. So exactly which trace is to be gathered, collected, or sampled needs to be decided. We as a data scientist or an observer are turning the world into a data. Then after separating the process from the data collection, we can see clearly that there are two sources of randomness and uncertainty. So first, namely, randomness and uncertainty lies in the process itself, and uncertainty is associated with the underlying data collection methods. So uncertainty about the collected data depends how we collect the data. So randomness is based on the nature of the world. So once we have all the data, somehow we captured the world and certain traces of the process. But with this data, we can't, go around with a huge Excel spreadsheet database of million transactions and look at each one of them with a finger to understand the world or a process. We need a new idea that's to simplify the captured traces into something more comprehensible, to something that somehow we capture in a concise way, that something could be mathematical models or functions of the data. So that we call it as a statistical estimators. Okay, so we will not look at each entry in the database. So instead, we will just go with the statistical estimators. This overall process of going from the world to the data and then from the data back to the world is the field of statistical inference. So what we did, we just captured the traces into something more comprehensible, to something that somehow captures it all in much more concise way. So the captured data is concise, and that something could be modeled as a function of data. So that is the statistical estimation. So the estimators are built. So that is known as statistical inference. So more precisely, if you want to define, so statistical inference is a discipline that concerns itself with the development of procedures, methods, and theorems that allows us to extract meaning and information from the data that has been generated by a stochastic or a random process. So statistical inference is nothing but development of procedure, methods, and theorems that allow us to extract a meaningful information from the data through a random process. So in statistics, the random process is highly important because the behavior of the world is highly random, and using good random processes, so the simulations can be done. So next, populations and samples. So whenever we talk about things in statistics, it is always the population and sample. So these are the terminologies that is used in classical statistical literature. So the population immediately makes us think human population, right? So ours 130 crore, like that. But put that image aside, because in statistical inference, population is not used to simply describe only people. So population is used to describe any set of object or units, maybe the number of posts we make in a Facebook or Twitter, number of photographs, stars, anything. So all those things, the object under study, we call it as a population. So it has nothing to do with a human population. So if we could measure the characteristics or extract the characteristics of all the objects, so then it is called as a set of observations. So the convention is to use a capital N to represent the total number of observations in the population. Okay, so population means it is a set of objects or units. Observation means it is the characteristics that are measured in the objects. So if our population is all about the emails that are sent, then suppose a population can be email sent to last year by employees at a big company. So in this case, a big car. So that is being considered. Then as observation that could list from that email would be, sender name, the list of recipients, the date and time when it is sent, the number of characters in an email, number of sentences. Again, within the sentence, we can use the number of verbs that are used, the length of the time until the first reply, the subject of the email. So all those things, they act as a set of observations that can be made on the object. So the object is an email and the observation is these parameters about that particular email. So if when we take a sample, we take a subset of units of size small n in order to examine the observation, and then we will draw the conclusions. So another term we have in statistics is the sampling or sample. So sample is nothing but a subset of the units, that is the population. So subset of the population and its size will represent it as a small n that is taken to examine the observation. So if our population is 1,000 emails, out of that we'll take only 200. So that becomes the sample. So sample size. So from that we'll draw the conclusion and make inferences about the population. So just by looking at 100 or 200 emails, so we will infer about the remaining or the entire 1,000 emails. So that is called as a sample. So there are different ways and methods, so from which we can get the subset of data. So how to get the subset of data, that is another task. So that is known as the sampling mechanism, and sampling mechanism may always induce some biasness in the data. So that bias may distort it. Okay. So once the sampling is done, then we can draw the conclusion. If there is a bias in the sampling, then any conclusion made out of that bias may be wrong or distorted. So in this particular big corp email example, so we can only list employees, select 1/10 of people at a random, then take their email that is being sent, observe it, or we can select 1/10 of randomly sent emails as the sample. So both the methods will be reasonable. So, but if we look at and count how many email messages each person has sent and use that to estimate the underlying distribution of emails sent by all individuals. So that is another aspect. 1,000 emails, from that we will filter 1/10. So that is one way. Another way is to get the statistics about all the 1,000 involved. So that is each person has sent how many emails, or each person has sent to a different recipient. So what is the average receivers for a single email? So one mail can be sent to multiple persons. So how many on an average have received that particular email. So that can also be taken for analysis. So even if we are getting the basic things like counting some of the things from the data, so that will also contribute to inferring the problem from which we can find the solutions. Okay. So we can stop here for today's discussion. So we'll continue with population and sample sizes of big data in our next class. So you can enter your attendance in the chat window and exit.